So what makes a country powerful? Really, what is it? Is it just about having a giant army or a ton of money? Or is there something else going on? Well, that's what we're going to get into. We're going to dissect the anatomy of national power and find out what really shapes a nation's influence on the world stage.
And I'm willing to bet this is what immediately comes to mind for a lot of you, right? You know, sheer military force. It's the most obvious, the most dramatic kind of power you can see. But, as we're about to find out, that's really just scratching the surface. It's a much deeper, more complex idea than you might think.
All right, so power is more than just muscle. If military might is just the tip of the iceberg, then what's really going on underneath the water? To get to the bottom of it, we have to look way beyond the battlefield and start exploring some of those hidden forces that really shape a nation's destiny.
Okay, so look, let's be clear. A strong military is absolutely a huge factor. You can't deny it. Political theorist E.H. Carr even called it the ultimate trump card in the high-stakes game of geopolitics. And he's not wrong. But it's still just one piece of this giant, complicated puzzle. A nation's real strength isn't just measured in firepower.
So what are we actually talking about when we say national power? Here's a great definition from A.F.K. Organsky. It's the ability to influence the behavior of others in accordance with one's own ends. See, it's not just about forcing other countries to do what you say. It's way more subtle. It's about shaping their choices, influencing their decisions, and ultimately getting them to act in a way that benefits you, maybe without them even fully realizing it.
That leads to a pretty big question then. If it's not just about brute force, what other forms does power actually take? What other tools are in a nation's toolkit? Let's get into it.
So to really break this down, we're going to look at what are called the three faces of power. We can thank E.H. Carr again for this framework. It's a really helpful way to understand how this all works.
Okay, so Carr broke it down into three main categories. First, you've got military power. This is the obvious one, right? The power of physical force, or at least the threat of it. It's usually the last resort. Second, there's economic power. This is all about using your wealth, your resources, your control over trade to get other countries to fall in line. And third, and this one is super interesting, is power over opinion. This is about shaping what people think, using ideas, propaganda, diplomacy, the whole shebang.
And here's the part that might surprise you. Carr said, and I quote, "Power over opinion is not less essential for political purposes than military and economic power." Think about that. He's saying that shaping what people believe is just as powerful as having a huge army or a booming economy. Just look at the Cold War. That whole conflict was basically a massive battle for hearts and minds, every bit as important as the arms race. That's the power of an idea.
Okay, so we've got the three faces of power. But what's actually fueling them? What are the raw ingredients that a nation uses to build its influence? Let's pop the hood and take a look inside.
The easiest way to think about this is to break it down into two big buckets. On one side, you have the tangible assets. These are the stable, measurable things you can literally see and count. On the other side, you have the intangible forces. These are the more unstable, human-related factors, things that are a lot harder to pin down. It's like building a winning sports team. You need the tangible stuff, like great players and a nice stadium, but you also need the intangibles, like amazing coaching and incredible team morale. You really can't win without both.
So let's start with the tangible stuff first. We're talking about things like geography, a country's location, its climate, its sheer size. Then you have natural resources, stuff like food, minerals, and fuel. Of course, there's population, not just how many people, but their quality. Are they educated and healthy? And then there's industrial capacity, the ability to actually make things. And finally, the one we all think of first, military strength, the tech, the equipment, the people. These are the hard assets, the building blocks.
But this is where it gets really, really interesting. The intangible forces, these are like the secret sauce, the X factor. We're talking about the quality of a nation's leadership, the national morale, the spirit of the people and how unified they are, the power of a nation's ideology, its system of beliefs, how well its government actually functions. That's a bureaucratic efficiency. And finally, the quality of its diplomacy. How good are they at negotiating on the world stage? These are the things that can totally change the game.
So, okay, a nation might have all of these ingredients, the tangible stuff, the intangible stuff. You'd think they could just do whatever they want, right? Well, not so fast. There's a pretty big catch.
Turns out, there are limits to power. Even the most powerful nation on Earth can't just act without consequences. In international relations, there are these invisible walls that can stop even the biggest players in their tracks.
So what are these invisible walls? Well, there's international morality.
basically a shared sense of right and wrong among nations. There's world public opinion, what the people of the world collectively think. Then there's international law, the actual rules of the road. And maybe the biggest one of all, the balance of power. This is the simple idea that other countries will always work to keep any one nation from getting too powerful.
Let's zoom in on that last one for a second, the balance of power. This is a huge deal. It's the core principle that says national power is always checked by the power of other states. You'll see nations form alliances or build up their own strength specifically to prevent any single country from getting too dominant and running the whole show. It's like a natural self-correcting system.
So when you put it all together, what do you get? This power game is really just a constant push and pull. It's this incredibly complex dance between a country's influence, all its assets, and all the things that limit it. It's not about just having power, it's about how you use it within this web of relationships.
And that brings us right up to today. I mean, think about our world. Social media, cyber warfare, global challenges that affect every single one of us. It really makes you wonder, right? Is the very definition of power changing all over again? Are those old rules still the ones we should be playing by? That's the big question we're all trying to figure out right now.